What's up, guys, and welcome to the Real Local People podcast, where we bring in real people to tell real stories about our area. So today I've got a great one for you. It's Aaron Luttrull, who is the managing broker of Schuler, Bauer Real Estate Services. So that's the biggest brokerage in our area. So word of warning, we do get in the weeds today a little bit about real estate because I'm a realtor, he's a realtor, and we just nerded out on it a little bit. But if this is your first time to our channel or to our podcast, we'd love for you to stick around. I think it's gonna be very interesting stuff. But we also have other podcasts out there with other great people from the Southern Indiana. So here we go. So what's up, man?
Not much. Just loving this first day of fall weather with all the beautiful rain we're experiencing today.
Yeah, we got some good rain coming out. We needed it.
My wife keeps telling me that, and I keep questioning her, like, do we really need it? I mean, like, I don't enjoy Southern Indiana drivers.
I was out at the golf course the other day, and it was like those lakes are down 10-0. They use those lakes to water the course. So when you don't get rain for a while, they just dry.
Less water hazard, though.
Yeah. So anyway, we jumped right into it here, but I'm here with Aaron Luttrull. 2 T's, 2 U's, 2 L's.
You got it. Yeah. And always mispronounced.
Yeah,
and I've been called everything.
Did I do it right?
You did. Luttrull is like that.
Luttrull.
I've been called Luttrull. I've been called Leffler. I don't even know where they got an F in that. But from a very early age, I've learned to just answer. If I hear Aaron, anything that starts with an L, it's probably me.
Yep. And you probably go Ron a lot, too.
I tell people all the time. I was checking into a leadership summit in Chicago just a few weeks ago, and the hostess who was checking me in, she's like, "Oh, we got a famous person here." And I was like, looking around, she's like, "Mr. Aaron." I'm like, Key and Peele ruined my life with that sketch. I cannot get away from it.
I saw a guy that did a support group for the Key and Peele thing, and it was the Aarons and Jay Quellins.
Funny enough, I have a brother-in-law whose name is Blake, so I guess it just all worked out.
Exactly. Well, man, I don't know how you have the time to do everything, but you are currently the president-elect of the Indiana Association of Realtors.
That's correct.
The managing broker for Schuler, Bauer Real Estate Services, which is the biggest brokerage in our area in Southern Indiana. You still sell real estate.
I do, a little
bit. And you do all of it running back and forth between Evansville and here.
I do. People ask me all the time, actually, like, "Hey, man, like, are you just tired of doing nothing? Why don't you like try to do something with your life?" And I never really think about all the things that I do until I get into a position where people are asking me about it, and I start having those conversations. And then it's like, wow, I really do have a lot of things that I'm doing right now.
I can't imagine, man. That is a lot. So this is the Real Local People podcast. So the podcast is about the people. So I want to hear about you. Like, where are you from? Like, how did we get to this point?
Yep, absolutely. So I'm going to give a condensed history of Aaron Luttrull. First and foremost, son of a preacher. So I was born in Springfield, Missouri, and I moved around a whole lot when I was a kid. I actually went to 6 different schools just between kindergarten and first grade. Wow. Settled in the 6th school for about a year and a half, and then moved to Southern Indiana when I was in 3rd grade and stayed there for pretty much the rest of my life. Whenever I went to high school and everything else, I was super interested in chemistry, and I've also always kind of wanted to like run my own business. So I got into pharmacy school at Purdue, which boiler up for those of you who are fans. I know. I'm sorry. I just polarized the entire podcast. But I thought, hey, you know what? I'm really
interested. It's football season.
It's football season. Who cares? Purdue who? But I thought, this is a good way for me to explore my interest in chemistry as well as my entrepreneurial spirit, because maybe I'll go and start up my own like retail pharmacy, and I'll run my own business and do all this kind of stuff. So after 1 year at Purdue, I realized that was a terrible idea because for me, it just got to be too monotonous. Right. And I think the reason I do all the things that I do is I like all of the aspects of learning new things, getting my hands into a lot of different stuff. You like the
problem, not the solution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I had a buddy whose mom owned a very small independent brokerage, and she needed somebody just to answer the phones. And I actually had another job I was working at the same time, and I'm like, "Hey, do you care if I work 2 jobs?" She's like, "I don't care. Do whatever you got to do." I was with her for about 2 months, and she came in one day and she pulled me into her office and she said, "Hey, we have a problem." And I said, "Oh, have I done something wrong? What's the issue?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "You're literally killing everything that I give you to a point where I can't hand you any more work until you get a real estate license."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "So do you have any interest in getting licensed and working as my assistant?" And I said, "That sounds incredibly interesting interesting. So this was back in 2006. So this was back when it was a 54-hour course.
Yeah.
Took that, got licensed when I was 19 years old, and just fell in love with helping people buy and sell homes.
You've been going for a long time.
Long time. So I actually started off just like as an admin. So I did like a lot of marketing work, all the paperwork.
Yeah.
People have often said to me, like, you should have gone to law school and be a lawyer, because I love like arguing and policies and all this kind of stuff. But I started helping out with going through the contracts and putting stuff together. After I graduated school, I was like, I've been involved in real estate for a long time. I think now's the time that I want to start trying my hand in actual doing like sales and things. That is a bug that bit me that I could not shake real quick. My first year of sales was in end of 2011 into 2012. For those of you who don't know, the market was not so hot back then.
Not great.
But I closed 13 transactions my first year.
Nice.
For $1.3 million. For quick math, that was an average sales price of $100,000.
Wow,
very different from today.
Yeah. A lot of foreclosures and stuff.
There was a lot of that going on. But I found out really quickly that I absolutely love helping people buy and sell homes, because it's a different puzzle every single time.
Yeah.
I do a lot of teaching and things. People always ask me, like, hey, Aaron, what's a normal real estate transaction look like? And I'm like, I don't know. I've been doing this for like 20 years, and I haven't had two that have gone the same way.
Exactly. Yep.
So fast forward into I got into management with a brokerage that was the largest brokerage in the Evansville area about 8 years ago. Moved into one of the offices there with about 40 agents, helped them grow their business over a 5-year period. Did a really good job with that office. So then when an opening came up at their largest branch office, they asked me to move there. I got involved heavily with the local association, and then with the state association, and through that met Kurt Schuler, who's the owner of Schuler, Bauer Real Estate Services. And then we kind of started having conversations, and he was like, hey, I'm looking for somebody who would be able to become our managing broker and the president of our company and help Schuler Bauer kind of grow and expand. And I think you might be the right guy for that. So about a year ago, I joined with Schuler Bauer Real Estate Services, and it's been an awesome move. Love the people
I can
here.
confirm he was right. You're great at your job. You're somebody that we can definitely look to for answers, like you said. I think you're kind of a fire putter outer person.
I can't remember who it was. An agent that was with us at one point in time. She actually said, "I'm just going to start calling you Google, because anytime I have a real estate question, I don't go to Google, I go to you, and you seem to know the answers."
That's a good quality for a managing broker, which we'll talk a little more as we get down the line here. We're going to go through some of these things you do and get in a little bit deeper. But I can confirm you're very well set for the job, and you sound like you're a lot like me in the sense that you like the journey, it's like, let's get there. And I'm the exact same way. That's why I love real estate, is it's every day is something different, and you just got to solve problems. You never quite know what that problem's going to be, but figure it out. And
to me, having that kind of aspect of it being a puzzle with the problems that you have to kind of solve, like that is one of the most interesting things that I could find, and there's not a lot of professions that allow you that kind of opportunity, that even though each transaction has several things that are kind of systematic that you can put in place for people, like every single transaction that I've done has these intricacies that you have to work through in a way that is different every single time. And it kind of keeps your mind sharp, because you have to be able to continually learn how to navigate things that you've never seen before, which is fun for me.
Exactly. And it also, being a growth-minded person, it also has no ceiling. It just literally, it's wherever you want to take it to is where you go. You're not waiting on that next position in your corporate job to open up, or, trying to figure out where you're going to go from there. Like it's you can literally sell as much real estate as you want. Where there's a will, there's a way.
100%. And I tell people all the time, through my 20 years of helping mentor and coach agents and help them build their business, there's no one formula that works the same way for every single person.
Exactly.
You can be the most boring, monotonous person in the world and still find a way to be successful in this industry. You can also be the most high energy person. I always joke and say, I love being on camera, but I know there's a lot of people that don't. Anybody can be successful in this industry if they just focus on making sure that they're taking care of their clients, they're excellent communicators, and they're following up and doing the things that they say they're going to do.
Yeah. Well, that's what led us down this path right here to the podcast, really, is like, what do you like? What are you good at? What do you enjoy? Because those are the things you're going to do. You're going to do the best, and you're going to do it all.
100%.
You know, because if you're not somebody who likes to be on the phones all the time, you're just not going to do it enough to be successful at
Right, right. And I have never been a cold calling kind of guy. And I
Yeah.
know that you can be extremely successful doing that. But for me, I am much more, I like to be face to face with people. I like the opportunity to just have those in-person connections. And I joke all the time, like, I don't really have a lot of clients, or not a lot of past clients. I have friends because we develop that kind of relationship through the transaction. I mean, you're helping people with the largest financial and emotional investment in their lives. And if you can help them navigate that in a way that is not only like, hey, we got this done successfully, but we got this done in a way that it was enjoyable for them, they automatically kind of bring you in and make you part of their family.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that part about it for sure. But so let's go into, you are the president-elect of the Indiana Association of Realtors. So
That's correct.
Number one, I guess you haven't done it yet, but what is that job entail, and how in the world are you gonna have enough time to do it?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and it's one that I get asked quite a bit because people don't understand necessarily exactly what a leadership position with the Indiana Association looks like. And the truth of the matter is, the Indiana Association of Realtors is made up of all the Realtor members in the state of Indiana. So we're at a little over 21,000 members as of right now. I haven't seen the most recent data, so don't quote me on exact numbers. But the Indiana Association of Realtors is kind of the conduit between the National Association of Realtors, which is kind of the overarching entity that sets forth like a lot of rules, regulations, the code of ethics for the Association of Realtors, and all of the things that are necessary to become a Realtor member. And then the local associations, which in Indiana, we have 23 local associations, including the Indiana Commercial Board of Realtors. So the state association is really there to kind of be that conduit between those two entities with a three-way agreement, which I don't want to go into too deep right now, but it's a way for us to have all of the information necessary for like professional standards, adhering to the code of ethics. They do a lot of advocacy at the state legislature on behalf of property owners. Advocating for property tax caps was one big thing that we did, that we have constitutional tax caps in the Indiana legislature that for homeowners who own their own property, they are constitutionally capped in Indiana at 1% of the assessed value. So a lot of that was driven by Realtor members who helped advocate on behalf of property owners in the state of Indiana. Another great thing that the state association does, which not every state has this, we have statewide forms. We have a forms library that has over 120 different forms available that control every aspect of what we do. And people don't realize what a huge, monumental benefit that is for realtors in the state, because I have friends over in Kentucky. We have 3 offices in Kentucky, and depending on the association you're in or the county you're in, you may have a different purchase agreement you're looking at. You can have a different listing contracts, all these things that during 2020, 2021, 2022, when the market was on fire, you're looking at 15 different contracts, and you're trying to understand and try to navigate, okay, what do I explain to the seller on this one, on these different things? Like, that is a huge benefit.
One of the
there
things
as well.
that we could provide as a realtor is really knowing that contract, right? Inside and out. And if we don't have some kind of standard of what that contract looks like, we're going to be doing a lot of reading and a lot of researching about what that is just to talk to one client.
Absolutely.
Versus if we know the same, we can kind of, I don't want to say skim, but I know the contract well enough to know the key points in there and to know to essentially to provide the best service and make sure nothing gets overlooked.
100%. Yeah. And so the state association's entire purpose or premise is to make sure that we are making sure that our agents are the most professional, they're the best equipped, and they have all of the things necessary to be the most professional when they're representing their clients. So getting into the leadership position actually has been about a 10-year process for me.
Really?
I went through the Indiana Realtors Leadership Academy in 2014 and graduated in 2015, and have been working on getting on the board of directors and then the executive committee, and then elected to be one of the officers, because the state association does such a great job of making sure that we're ahead of the game, that our members are being educated on changes to the industry. You are well aware of some massive changes that impacted the real estate industry in the last year or so. And I'm finding by traveling around the country and talking to other state association members that Indiana is really ahead of the game. And it's because we are doing everything we can to make sure that we are stepping up as a state association to keep our members informed.
Yeah. So that went into some of the changes that happened recently. And I know not a lot of people maybe are familiar with all these changes, but I was curious your take on those changes and what we've seen out of those. Do you feel like they're changes that are helping the public and helping realtors? And
that's a really great question. And the truth of the matter is a lot of the changes that have come down are things that, in my opinion, should have happened a long time ago in some instances. And a lot of the things that happened that came from these lawsuits that stemmed from consumers that were uninformed, I don't think were as prominent in the state of Indiana because we did such a great job for a long time making forms that did their best to inform people on how agents are compensated, whether we were sharing any of that compensation for buyer brokers and things of that nature. The change to remove compensation from the MLS and to require buyer agency agreements, in my opinion, is one of the most pro-consumer changes that has happened in our industry in a very long time. And I think it's a great thing because it's forcing agents to have those conversations with customers.
And buyers agents have to prove their value now.
100%.
They have to back it up.
Yeah. And the truth is I feel like if you wanted to be a good buyer's agent, you've had to be able to provide some value for a long time because if you didn't provide any value without any contract in place, buyers would just decide that they wanted to go talk to somebody else at any point in time. I've been very fortunate throughout my career that I've always been able to make sure that I inspire that loyalty from the clients that I'm working with because I've always educated them on, hey, this is how I'm compensated. This is how we negotiate on your behalf and we do all these things. But now it's a forced conversation before you start even looking at homes, which I always did. But I think it's better for the consumer because maybe not everybody always did those things. And now that we have to have those conversations, it's protecting the consumer.
Yeah. Well, what I've found through my time after this change, I wasn't a big buyer agent rep agreement guy. I just didn't do them. I work a lot with my sphere of influence and things like that. And it was just never an issue. I never really lost people, never really asked people to get them. Since I've been doing them, what I've found is I think it's helpful to buyers agents because it makes your client show their loyalty to you before you spin your wheels.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And I haven't, in true to form, what I assumed would have been the case before, I haven't had any trouble getting those signatures.
No.
You know what I mean? Because if people are working with me, or they already know they're going to work with me.
Yeah.
And, also make it clear up front, like if I've done something to a point where you don't want to work with me anymore anyways, I hope you give me the opportunity to correct it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it is what it is at that point. So,
and a lot of people don't even realize that in the state of Indiana, up until 1994, so prior to 94, everybody actually worked as an agent for the seller or as a sub-agent for the seller, which means I had a fiduciary responsibility to the seller, even if I'm representing you as a buyer in the contract.
So if you're saying bad things about their listing while you're in there, that
could get you in trouble. So we realized as a state that we owed this fiduciary responsibility to the buyer in the transaction. And we made sure that we enshrined buyer agency as the letter of the law at that point in time. I was only 7 years old in 1994, so I didn't have any say in what was happening at that time. But my thought process is, why didn't we just go ahead and require those agreements at that point in time, as opposed to waiting 30 years to when we put them into practice as a matter of law?
Yeah. I think the big concern when everybody sees it coming in, it's like agents just look at it and they're like, oh, we're not guaranteed money from the listing contract anymore. But I think what I've wondered of where it will go from here is that as far as the real estate market as a whole is concerned, not just as realtors, I'm talking as the movement of property, right? There's this army of realtors out there that are, a lot of which are calling people every day, kind of pushing people towards buying homes.
Right.
If you weed out the buyer's side, the buyer's agent's role at that point, who's going to be pushing that movement to happen, and how much is that going to affect our real estate market as a whole? Yeah. And I think what we've seen is there is more loyalty there from those buyers than what we ever really thought to begin with, because it doesn't feel, at least for me, maybe other people are different, it hasn't felt like a terribly big change to me at this point.
In practice for me, in the state of Indiana, at the outset of the agency agreement, the law says that you have to have a buyer, or any client, has to sign office policy. So I have always sat down with every client I represent, whether a buyer or seller, before we start that relationship and say, hey, here's how I work. Here's how our relationship's going to go together. These are the things that I need you to understand about how we're going to schedule appointments and do all these different things, because I want to make sure that people understand and expect what is going to happen throughout the transaction, because the friction really occurs when there's unmet expectations.
Exactly.
And if you don't set any expectations or have a conversation, you may not be meeting an expectation that was unspoken by the client you represent. So for years, I always sat down with clients and had them sign things, you know, even during the height of COVID, when it was like, hey, I need to go see this house today, and I'm calling and it's been on the market for 3 hours and they already have 15 offers. I would still tell buyers, hey, before we go look at homes, I really want to make sure that we have an opportunity to have a conversation on what to expect. And ultimately, if you don't want to sit down and have that conversation with me, totally fine. But this is how I work, and this is how I protect your interests. And I never lost a buyer over that. So by adding only one more piece of paper that I have to have them sign, in practice, it really didn't change the conversations I was already having too much. And it just makes it so much more comfortable for the client when you're willing to sit down and go through that information before you even, you know, go through the process of looking at homes.
Couldn't agree more. I think it for me personally, it pushed me in a direction I should have been doing already. I think it makes more sense. So like I said, I think if anything, it's made things better for me. We're kind of nerding out over real estate stuff here because we're two realtors sitting here talking to each other. So I wanted to keep moving.
I could do this for hours. So you
exactly.
Point the conversation where you need me to go.
So your other job is the managing broker of Schuler, Bauer Real Estate Services, and this is another thing that I'm kind of nerding out over because I've always been kind of curious. What is that? What does that position entail? Like, what are you doing on a daily basis?
Sure, absolutely. So as president of Schuler, Bauer Real Estate Services, I'm the managing broker for all of our Indiana offices. Kurt Schuler still holds the principal broker license for our Kentucky offices. Gotcha. So as the managing broker, you know, my goal is to make sure that I'm providing the opportunities of success to our agents as much as possible. So looking at, are we providing the right technology to make sure that you can be as efficient as possible? Are we engaging in the right education to make sure that you're able to be as professional as possible, to be able to understand the intricacies of what's happening in the market? Do you have enough market data to properly provide pricing strategies to sellers? Can you navigate the changes in what's happening with buyers now that they have a little bit more negotiating power than they've had in years and years? So as managing broker, ultimately, I'm responsible for making sure that all of our agents are able to take care of our clients. So day to day, another reason why I love this, looks different every single day. Now, there's a lot of things that I do on a daily basis. Every single listing contract, every single buyer agency agreement comes through me for a signature. And it's not just a rubber stamp. I'm double checking them. I'm making sure that they're filled out appropriately, that there's no questions on, you know, hey, there's something missing here, or hey, I don't fully understand what you mean on this thing in the further conditions. I want to make sure we get that taken care of. So I'm handling all of those contracts.
So the other thing is, one of the things that tells me for people watching this is just FYI, if you're doing business with a Schuler Bauer agent, you're doing business with Aaron. This guy right here, like, he's signing everything behind the scenes. He's double checking everything. So it's always good because we do have agents in all aspects. We have agents that have just gotten into it. They've been in it for 40 years and all those things. But there is a set level of expectations set there with Aaron backing up everything that goes on at the brokerage.
Yeah, 100%. And in addition to that, like, you know, we were talking about this earlier. We call it in the industry deal doctoring, which is like, hey, if there are any issues that arise that could be potential problems, like how do we handle and navigate these situations? And one thing that I've really kind of always preached whenever I'm training agents is we don't make decisions. That is not the role of a real estate agent. Your job is to educate the consumer on their options and what are the pros and cons of the options that they may choose to kind of navigate. So a lot of times there'll be questions that arise like, hey, this is the situation that arose. How do I handle this? What are the different options that we should give to the client? And I really enjoy having those conversations because whenever you're talking through all of the potential scenarios, you're educating yourself on how to be prepared for whatever comes your way. A lot of people in this industry, and I've heard it from many, many different agents over the years, is, well, I tell my client they have to do this. That's not our role. So helping our agents understand how to properly educate the consumer, whether it's a buyer or a seller, on what their options are, is something that's really fun because not only does it help them through this transaction, but I always joke and say this is real estate university because the truth is whenever you take that course to get your license, especially our newer agents, it does not prepare you for what selling real estate is.
No, get your license, then you go learn how to be a realtor.
So we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're training our agents on how to handle these situations and learn how to navigate based upon past experiences, what the different potential outcomes are.
Sure.
So we do a lot of that. Obviously, leading our management team to make sure that we're staying in front of our agents with great ideas on like lead generation games. We've got one coming up starting in October. Where
Bingo one.
Bingo. Yeah, it's going to be a great.
Yeah,
so
we're gonna do that.
putting together some awesome opportunities for like lead generation activities for the agents. And I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of realtors are really competitive.
Yeah.
So you put a little prize in front of them. They're like, hey, I want to make sure that I get this knocked
Absolutely.
out first. So doing those kind of things to make sure that we're engaging the agents, keeping them informed, keeping them, happy in this business, because it's an emotional investment for the clients that we're representing, and a lot of times that emotion gets pushed onto what we got to do, and it's all about making sure that we're there to support our agents and keep them moving
And a lot of
forward.
stuff you're talking about here about expectations and everything, I mean, I wouldn't even say half of this job. I mean, the biggest part of this job is, like you mentioned, lead generation. I mean, when you're in real estate, you're a business owner, and you've got to find a way to get that business too. You're not just going to work every day from 9 to 5 and having the business put in your lap or say, do this. No, we got to go find the work for us to do. And that is, I would say, a vast majority of the job, and supporting agents in that is huge.
100%. And I always joke and say you only have two assets to invest in your business, and that's your time or your money. And guess what? I started off in this business without a lot of money, so I found ways to invest my time in effective ways to stay in front of my clients and build relationships, because those relationships are key to being successful in this industry. I was fortunate for most of my career to be able to say that 90 to 95% of all my business came from personal relationships or past clients that came back to me and wanted to utilize me as their agent. Never spent a lot of money for lead generation personally. I did a lot of like social media content and things of that nature. But by making sure that I was investing my time into those people, it paid dividends in the long run coming back to me.
Yeah, it's a get rich slow scheme. That's for
100%,
sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do good work, and you keep the people that you've done business with before, and you keep adding on to that, and it just kind of snowballs in the long run.
Yeah.
So.
I've joked and said I'm going to write a book one day about the secret to sales. And this is, it doesn't matter what training you go to, whose seminar you're at, all the books, all the PowerPoint presentations really boil down to just three things. And it's do what you say you're going to do, focus on the relationship, not the transaction, ask for business.
Yeah.
You do those three things, you'll be successful.
No, I don't disagree with those. When you write that book, you come back to the podcast. We'll pitch it.
Sounds good.
Pitch it then. We'll be ready to go.
I've always said it's going to be a 1,000-page book.
Yeah.
It's going to have the first 3 pages are going to be those 3 points. And then the other 997 pages are going to be for you to take notes for the people that you're representing so you can make sure you're taking care of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you're an agent watching this, I'm betting a lot of people that are still with us at this point probably are realtors, because we talked a lot of realtor type stuff. But if you're looking for good support, I mean, like I said, this is the head of your management team essentially at Schuler Bauer, and he does a great job. So anything else you wanted to touch on before we're done here?
I could talk for hours and hours and hours about all of these things. I think the most important thing to say is that if you are in real estate and you're thinking about where's the best place to hang your license to make sure that you're supported and you're getting good information on how to be successful in this industry, I'd love to have a conversation with you, because ultimately we are focused on our agents and making them successful, because as I've mentioned with the Indiana Association and with Schuler Bauer and everyone else, we focus on professionalism. Because I know right now that if you are set up to be the most professional agent, you're going to be the best equipped to be successful. And we strive to make sure that our agents are equipped to build successful businesses.
Yeah. Hey, can't say it better than that. Aaron, I appreciate you coming today, man.
Anytime. Thanks.
Yep.